In January of 2016, this year, I received a call from Flying Doctors of America, and they asked me to join them on a medical dental mission to Amman, Jordan. And my first thought was, I don't know if being an American woman in the Middle East is a great idea. With all this blonde curly hair, it's not going to be easy to hide. And I also thought, how will I tell my family and my parents and my sisters, the people I work with, will I be safe and will I be able to get home? But at the same time, it was such an incredible opportunity, and I wanted to really, kind of see what was going on there. And so I decided pretty quickly I was going to go, and I just decided not to tell my parents or my family or friends until almost the last second before I left. In the time before I left, I usually, before I go on a mission trip, I like to kind of think about, why am I doing this? Why am I going on a trip like this? Is it about me? Is it about being able to be impressive to somebody? And so in the time that I was kind of thinking, trying to kind of get my head around it, Elie Wiesel passed away. And so I was reading some of his writings, and I was looking at some of his videos, and this quote came up. And it really hit me profoundly, because he said the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. And it really struck me that this is how we feel about the Syrian refugees in Jordan. It's a little bit of indifference because they're a long ways away. And I didn't want to be indifferent, and I wanted to go there. I wanted to learn who those people were, and I wanted to know what the conditions were for them. And I wanted to know what it was outside of what we see on television. 1.5 million Syrians are living in Jordan. This is a refugee camp with 350,000 people. They're all fenced in all the way around. You can't leave this camp. You can't get into that camp. Once you're in, you don't get out. If you're in that camp, you do have food that's provided. You do have a little card that gets you some medical, dental treatment, so you're pretty safe in there, but there's no access in and out. There's another 350,000 people living outside these camps on little bits of dirt that landowners in Jordan allow them to put these tents on. These people have no access to health care. These people have no access to food other than what they can beg. They're at the mercy of the landowners and the people around them. The conditions inside these tents are very stark. It's a tent, and whole families live inside these. And they've been living like this for 4 years. This is the kitchen. This is the bathroom. This is your washroom. This little square is where you can wash yourself, wash your dishes. There's a little spigot, and that's where you get your water. So these kids and their families live in these tents. They don't go to school. They're just trying to survive. And remember that they've been there for 4 years. And these kids probably have never known anything but this. So when we arrived in Jordan, a group of medical and dental students actually met us. These young people are the ones that actually set up the whole trip. These young people, were so inspired and so passionate about wanting to help the people around them because they could see what was happening to them, and they knew that they didn't have any help. And some of these people were refugees themselves. Some were refugees from Iraq. Some of them were Palestinians, so they understood what it felt like to be marginalized. And they understood what it felt like to be a refugee. So they found us a little school to work in, and we would have the patients come to us. So the students had figured out a way to send a bus out into that community, and it would drive around and pick people up, and they would bring them to us. And they would come to the school. We'd have a little triage, and what that means is you would just kind of assess what they needed. They'd get a little card, and they'd go to the room of the doctor that they need. So if they needed dental treatment, they came to me. And we had set up a little clinic like this in a little schoolroom. Because I don't have electricity or electricity that I can rely on, we don't have running water. I obviously don't have a dental chair. I don't have the suction or anything like that. The only real service I can provide is dental extractions. And this is mostly, exclusively what I did. So the patients would come to us, and they'd sit in a little chair, and we'd kind of talk to them about what they needed. We had translators that would help us to explain what we were going to do and what was going to happen. As I said, most of it were dental extractions, and we would numb the patient up just like you would here. That's the scariest picture you're going to see today. And while they were sitting there waiting, I started to ask the people just to tell me their stories, because I wanted to know how they got here and who they were, what the history was behind them. So I had a relationship with them. This man was a teacher. He had built a school in Syria. He had 250 students. Took him 15 years to develop it, and he was really excited about it, and he loved it. And these are his children. They were well educated. One day the Syrian army, the Assad regime came in, and they just took the school. It was gone. It was just made an army barrack. So he realized what was happening. He got up and got out of town. This man was kind of ahead of his town, kind of like a mayor here, and he tried to stay in his city, and it was getting bombed and bombed and bombed, and he left that city and went to the next city. It was getting bombed and bombed, and the next city was getting bombed and bombed. And he said he just couldn't take being terrorized anymore like that, and so he came to Jordan. And I asked him, I said, if there was something that you could tell the American people, what would it be? And he said, I want to go home. I want to go to my home. Because he understands that he's an old man, and he's probably not going to get back to Syria. And he said, your home never leaves you, no matter where you go in the world. And so it was really sad to hear that. So imagine you're in this place, and all these bombs are going off, and you've got to get out of there. Pretty sure the last thing you think of is a toothbrush or toothpaste. You know, I mean, you just get in the car and you got to go, right? You put your family in there, and you're gonna get moving. So everybody that I saw, it didn't matter if they were young or if they were old, had decayed teeth. And I'm not talking about one tooth. It was all of their teeth. So as human beings, we have to eat every day, 3 times a day. And we have to drink water. These people drink tea. You can imagine what it feels like if air hits your teeth when they're decayed and they're rotted. We use our smile to communicate to people, friendliness, and their teeth were just rotting away. What I found even more profound for a lot of these people is that they were well educated, and they knew that dental treatment would save this. And they knew that had they had the opportunity to go to a dentist, they wouldn't be in this condition. So they knew that their smiles were decaying away. And it was just very sad, and it was really kind of hard. So when I had a patient sit down and be ready to have treatment, it took a lot of time to develop trust, because these people have been through a lot. Many of the kids had seen somebody blown up in front of them. Many of them had seen somebody tortured or heard of it. Some of them had been gassed. And so they've been through a lot of trauma. They're living in a tent. They're not with their communities anymore. So I had about 5 minutes to develop trust with them because of that trauma, and because I've only had 5 minutes because there's 50 other people that are waiting. I don't have a chance, because I want to take care of everybody, to really spend that time with them. And so once I got to the point where we could treat them, I would get behind them, because the only way I can really do this, because I don't have a dental chair, is I have the people kind of get back in the chair, and they kind of lean up against me, and I kind of get my arms around them, because I have to hold them against my chest because I need them to be still. And it takes quite a bit of force to get a tooth out. It's not an easy thing, and it's actually a skill. And so I would get them in there, and I would have them in my arms and holding them. And it becomes a pretty intimate situation, because it's 105 degrees in that room. We're all sweating together. I literally have their blood on my hands. And so the profound sense of responsibility I feel is immense, because these people have trusted me. And I want to make sure that they have the best experience, that they're not going to be hurt, that they know that they're in good care. And every once in a while, some of the medical doctors will come into the dental area, and they'll come in and they'll be like, hey, can I take a tooth out? And I'm like, this is a person. It's not a game. And I say, if you can't do it in the US, you can't do it in a little schoolroom in Jordan either. And so I get very protective of these people because of the responsibility that they have given me. So when you're in the position and you have the opportunity to take care of somebody in pain, all these cultural differences just go away. It doesn't matter if you wear a hijab like this and you have tattoos on your face. It doesn't matter if you're wearing the full niqab and you can only see their eyes. And it doesn't matter if you have a headscarf on. The only thing I can see is a human being. And all of these people feel pain, just like you and I do. They feel fear, especially the dentist, exactly the same way that you do. They feel the humiliation of their rotted teeth, just like you do. So at the end, we probably saw about 200 patients in the 4 days that I had to be there. I probably extracted 800 teeth. Every person that I saw had gratitude. They had thanks for me. I never once felt afraid, and it wasn't scary at all. This woman invited me to her home if she had one. And so they were very kind and they were very grateful. And at the end of the trip, we always have a big dinner, and all the doctors get together and we talk about our experiences. And it's always very moving because it's an intense situation to be in. And the Jordanian doctors asked us at the end to please go home and tell your communities about us. Tell your communities about these people. He said they really just need to have their humanity given back, recognize that they're people. And so really what we're saying is let's not be indifferent. Just remember that these are people. In your community today, and you see somebody, don't be indifferent. And you hear about somebody on the other side of the world, don't be indifferent. So what I want to ask you to do, if you have somebody sitting next to you, so just take your hand and put it on their shoulder. That's exactly what a Syrian refugee feels like. Thank you.